Let's talk about the Celtics. They entered tonight's game against the Mavs, 7th in the East. They're still a game below 500, 25 games left in the season. Jayson Tatum asked on Stephen A's World about Brad Stevens' responsibility in all this. Here's what he had to say.
From our standpoint, and in that locker room, it's not his job per se to, I feel like, get us riled up, those games where we come out kind of slow. We're all professionals. We all been playing basketball for a long time. His job is to have us prepared, and, you really can't coach energy, in those days when, in those games where we didn't have this start and we dug ourselves a hole and had to try to come back. We got to take ownership. We got to, do better in that aspect.
So Jayson Tatum putting some of that on himself. But, Robert, where are you on the coach versus anyone else for the Celtics struggles right now?
And coaches get blamed for so many things in this league, and sometimes they should, but in this case, he shouldn't be blamed at all because they had COVID cases. They had a lot of injuries. You had Smart out when your energy guys, and that's the key to a team. If you don't have your energy guy, then you're going to go out there and you're going to play like a Desical, you have these things. And think about it. Tatum got COVID, and he was going through about 6 weeks where he said, I'm just not in shape.
Still, he says he still doesn't have all his win back.
And that's the whole thing. And the only player on this team that's really been consistent is Jaylen Brown. And he's their go-to guy that's been durable and a key guy for them. And then they had trades. It's so many things that happened this season. You can go on and on. But you cannot blame the coach because he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, no, he's a hell of a coach, and this is my issue. You look at Greg Popovich with San Antonio for the last 20 years. Every year they weren't a 1 seed. Every year they weren't a 2 seed. We were the 7 seed and we beat the 2 seed. You're going to have years where they're great, years where they're not. You can't sit here and blame the coach. And look, ultimately, this team doesn't have championship talent. They have 2 studs, they have 2 stars, and they have other good talent around them. What would they do for Al Horford?
Haven't they been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years?
Well, this is what I'm saying. But I don't believe that this team's talent stacks up with the other top teams. They don't stack up with Brooklyn. They don't stack up with Philly, and I don't think they stack up with Milwaukee. So when you look at those teams, they're kind of hovering talent-wise where they are, despite all of the other things. That's so some of the coach, but not enough to change him or to complain or put him on the hot seat. He's a great coach, and great coaches are hard to find.
Ramona, there were really mixed projections on the Celtics heading into this season. You had people up and down the board saying, I can see them top 3 in the East. I can see them kind of where they are right now, 7th, 8th in the East. How is this all playing in Boston? Because we know that Celtics fans, we know that Celtics ownership, their expectations are in that top tier. And as I just mentioned, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years. They did not expect to be taking such a step backward this season.
Yeah, this is a big step backwards, but you also have to go back to the offseason. I mean, their big acquisitions are Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague. That has not worked out. They never replaced Gordon Hayward. You have to look at Danny Ainge in the front office and say, they don't have a lot of depth. They haven't added a lot. They haven't added a lot to that roster, and they lost a lot, quite frankly, when they lost Gordon Hayward for nothing, except for a trade exception, which they really didn't use in any meaningful way. And I think when you look at this team, Jayson Tatum just told you what's going on with them. Okay, when you use words like effort, when you say the coach can't get us riled up, that's him saying it's on us. We are not playing with energy. And if you watch the Celtics a lot this year, they have to go to zone defense sometimes. They have to do that. They can't even play man defense because they're not either. Some of it's defense is effort, especially man defense is effort. And when you're not bringing that night in and night out, then you have to do whatever you got to do. And I think Brad's actually done a pretty decent job managing a roster where Kemba Walker's been in and out. He doesn't play in back-to-backs as they manage that knee injury. Marcus Smart's been out. And going back to that word effort, that's their guy every night that brings effort. That's their energizer. And he's been out for a lot of the season with an injury. So I don't see how you put much of this at all on Brad Stevens when you lost a lot of talent off that roster in depth. And you've had injuries and COVID cases.
Yeah, and look, they brought in Evan Fournier at the trade deadline. Never Google. Do not Google his last name.
Google.
I'm just going to see.
Google, trust me.
Richard.
Okay, don't Google Evan Fournier, just Fournier.
Producer Steve just said in my ear, now it's time to take a break. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.